Hi, welcome to my channel. Now we uncover the story of the Age of Imperialism, how the world was divided by empires, 1870 to 1914. Introduction: The Race for the World. Between 1870 and 1914, the major powers of Europe began an unprecedented scramble to conquer, colonize, and control vast territories across Africa, Asia, and the Pacific. This period is known as the Age of Imperialism, and it changed the political, economic, and cultural landscape of the modern world. The empire builders, Britain, France, Germany, Belgium, Italy, Portugal, Spain, and later Japan and the United States, redrew the map of the world, turning ancient civilizations into colonies and trading posts. The roots of imperial ambition. The Industrial Revolution gave Europe the power and motivation to expand overseas. Factories demanded raw materials, cotton, coal, iron, rubber, and oil, and new markets to sell their goods. With superior steamships, telegraphs, and machine guns, Europeans could travel farther, faster, and dominate weaker nations. But it wasn't only about economics. Imperialism was also driven by strong national pride, strategic rivalry, and a strong belief in racial superiority. Many Europeans sincerely believed it was their duty to civilize non-European peoples. A justification that became known as the white man's burden, made popular by Rudyard Kipling's 1899 poem, The Scramble for Africa. Nowhere was imperialism more aggressive than in strong Africa. Before 1880, most of Africa was controlled by native kingdoms and empires. But within just 3 decades, almost the entire continent was divided among European powers. The turning point came at the Berlin Conference of 1884 to 1885, called by German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck. 14 European nations sat around a table in Berlin and carved Africa like a cake, without a single African representative. Britain took Egypt, South Africa, and large parts of East Africa. France took vast territories in West and Central Africa. Belgium's King Leopold II claimed the Congo Free State as his personal property, unleashing one of the most brutal colonial regimes in history, where millions died due to forced labor and violence. By 1914, only 2 African countries remained independent: Ethiopia and Liberia. Asia under empire. While Africa was being divided, Asia was also falling under imperial domination. India, once the jewel of the Mughal Empire, became the crown jewel of the British Empire, after the British defeated Indian rulers and suppressed the 1857 rebellion. Britain exploited India's vast resources, from tea and cotton to spices and opium, while enforcing English education and bureaucracy. In China, imperialism took a different form, not direct rule, but economic control. After the Opium Wars, 1839 to 1842 and 1856 to 1860, Britain and other Western powers forced China to open its ports to foreign trade, cede Hong Kong, and allow spheres of influence where foreign countries enjoyed privileges. Meanwhile, France colonized Indochina, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia. The Dutch ruled Indonesia, and the United States took control of the Philippines. After defeating Spain in 1898, Japan, having modernized rapidly during the Meiji Restoration, joined the imperial race too, conquering Korea, Taiwan, and later parts of China, becoming Asia's first modern empire. The human cost of empire. Behind the glittering facade of European power lay enormous suffering. Imperialism was built on violence, exploitation, and racial hierarchy. Indigenous peoples were forced off their lands, traditional industries collapsed, and local cultures were often suppressed. In Africa, forced labor built roads, railways, and plantations. In India, millions died during famines made worse by British export policies. In the Congo, people's hands were cut off if they failed to meet rubber collection quotas. Missionaries and colonial officials justified this domination as a civilizing mission, claiming they were bringing Christianity, education, and progress. Yet for many colonized peoples, imperialism meant loss of freedom, dignity, and identity, resistance and rebellion. Despite the overwhelming power of the empires, resistance never stopped. In India, leaders like Mahatma Gandhi would later turn the struggle into a non-violent movement for independence. In Africa, uprisings such as the Zulu resistance, the Maji-Maji rebellion in German East Africa, and the Herero revolt in Namibia showed fierce opposition. In Asia, anti-colonial movements emerged as educated elites began to demand self-government. The Boxer Rebellion, 1899 to 1901, in China, was a desperate attempt to drive out foreign influence, though it ended in defeat. Everywhere, the seeds of nationalism were planted, seeds that would eventually grow into the independence movements of the 20th century. The impact on the world map. By the dawn of the 20th century, the entire world was essentially divided among a handful of imperial powers. The British Empire alone ruled over 25% of the world's land and population, a realm so vast that it was said the sun never sets on the British Empire. But this expansion also created global tensions. The rivalries between European empires, especially Britain, France, and Germany, contributed directly to the outbreak of World War I in 1914. The competition for colonies, resources, and prestige turned Europe into a powder keg. Imperialism's legacy, the world it left behind. The Age of Imperialism left a mixed legacy. On one hand, it connected distant parts of the world through trade, communication, and infrastructure. Railways, ports, and telegraph lines linked continents. Western education and political ideas inspired new leaders in Asia and Africa. But the negative consequences were immense. Artificial borders drawn by colonial rulers ignored ethnic and cultural realities, causing conflicts that continue today. The extraction of wealth from colonies made Europe rich while keeping much of the global South poor. Moreover, the racist ideologies that justified imperialism would later feed into the horrors of World War II and even modern forms of discrimination. Decolonization and the end of empires. After World War II, the great empires began to collapse under pressure from independence movements. India became free in 1947, followed by dozens of African nations in the 1950s and 1960s. By the 1970s, most of the old colonial empires were gone, though the political and economic imbalances they created remain. Today, historians view the Age of Imperialism as a turning point in global history, a period that built the foundations of globalization, but also deep divisions between the developed and developing world. Conclusion: Lessons of Empire. The Age of Imperialism was both an age of exploration and exploitation, progress and pain. It connected the world like never before, yet it also showed how greed and power could shape human destiny for centuries. Its legacy lives on in the languages we speak, the borders we live within, and the inequalities we struggle to overcome. Understanding this era reminds us that global power always comes with responsibility, and that the story of empire is not just about the conquerors, but also about those who resisted and survived. Finally, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share this World History Facts Hub channel.